Let's go. So for the past year, the one Bluetooth earbud I keep reaching for is the Sony WF-1000XM4. As you can see, it's in my ears now. That's just not for the video. It is my go-to Bluetooth earphone. While it does a lot of things right, here's a bunch of things I think the XM4 needs to be improved upon, and what I'm hoping... The heck? All the doggy bags fell out. There's a weird drunk person on the road. Yeah, this shit happens everywhere. It doesn't matter which part of the world you're in. There's always a drunk person Sunday morning on the streets. Alright, so the absolute first thing that they have to change is the form factor. For smaller ears, it just doesn't work. The shell is a bit too big, and that bulk hangs on the outside of the ear, right? So there's two effects of that. One, the shell being too big is an issue for smaller ears itself. But the fact that it hangs outside means even for me, if I don't have the absolute snuggest fit, if I want to go for a jog or a run, then it kind of bobs up and down ever so slightly, right? Not noticeably, but you'll hear it in your head. It's very comfortable if you have larger ears, but yeah, for smaller ears, they really need to make it a little more friendly, like they did on the LinkBuds S. So maybe, just maybe, the XM5 will also have a smaller shell, which is good news for everyone, and for Sony if they want to sell more. I don't know if these things ever work in any city. It just seems like the traffic lights come on when they want to come on. This seems like one of those things they just get you to do to get you to be patient. I don't know. Oh, it's green. Oh, easy, slow. So excited to go to his park. You excited, aren't you? This way. Come on, come on. We gotta go past the big bulldozer person. Hello. Thank you. Now, the next thing they absolutely need to improve on is the controls. Now, don't get me wrong, the controls work okay, but on the one hand, I do find them a little finicky sometimes. I have to kind of touch exactly the right area, and that's, it can be better. But there are two things that really need to change here. Number one is the lack of volume control. The Pixel Buds have this nice thing where you swipe forward and back for volume up and down. The AirPods Pro second generation, we're going. The AirPods Pro second generation also has a swipe up and down for volume, which I really find it useful. Sometimes I don't want to pause the music, I just want to turn it down, listen to what's happening outside, and then turn it back up again. And I can't do that on the XM4. But also, besides just having more controls, I'd also like more customizability. While you can assign one set of controls to each earbud, that's pretty much all you get. Whereas something like the Soundcore, the Liberty 4 for example, has complete customization. You can basically patch anything to anything, and that is something that I wish the Sony XM4 also had. Look at how excited he is. Okay, we're going. That over there is where he wants to go. That's the big park for all the dogs, and you can see he's looking there. He's looking to see if the dogs are... Oh, he's off. Okay, alright. Apart from that, from a controls point of view, I wouldn't change too much. Maybe just make it easier when, say, you're on the go, if you're running or anything. It's not too hard. It is a big surface area, but I think they could do with having the touch area widened a little bit, or making this a flatter or more concave structure so it's easier to hit the right spot. Now, from a features and app point of view, well, I've got to say I like the app. It's very slick and it works really well. Pairing is not an issue, and now they've even pushed a firmware update that gives it multi-point, both on the XM4 as well as the LinkBuds. I mean, honestly, Sony, if there's one thing they've been doing, they've been pushing firmware updates that actually are making changes. So that's definitely a very good thing. Between you and me, yes, there are smart features, but do we actually use them? The only smart feature I really use, if at all, is the thing where you can change between ANC and ambient modes or levels based on whether you're in transport or not, or whether you're in a certain area. So when I get to work, I usually have it set to turn ambient sound on for a little while, but then I just take off the earbuds and just talk to people like a normal person. So these things, by the way, they're everywhere now, all over downtown and some other parts of Dubai. Are you peeing? Okay, that shows what he thinks about them. On summer days in Dubai, where it can get really hot, it's super convenient and it allows you to get from point A to point B within a neighborhood really fast, which sounds very spoiled, But when it's 45 degrees, sometimes 48 degrees outside, yeah, they come in handy. Other times they're just fun. I like them. That brings us to the sound quality. Now, active noise cancellation is among the best that you can find. It's the second best in the market according to my measurements at least. You can find the measurements down here. I'll leave the links down below. But on the one hand, it is definitely aided by these foam tips that you get. These are not the original foam tips, they're replacement ones, which is great. It provides a fantastic level of isolation, passive isolation, and that adds to the active noise cancellation. With silicone tips, it's also really good, just not as good as the Bose. Still, they need the hybrid foam tips or just foam tips to do that. And that's a bit of a problem because on the one hand, people don't use foam tips that much, as in they don't like foam tips that much, they prefer silicone. So if Sony provides silicone tips for comfort, then they need to up their ANC game to work well with silicone tips as well, or work a lot better. This sounds like I'm being greedy because honestly, if you've used these, the active noise cancellation is fantastic. But it's not about what I want, it's not about being greedy, it's about stepping up to the competition. And the competition at this point is basically Bose when it comes to ANC for these guys. They go head to head on the headphone market and they do pretty damn well there. They should do well on earbuds as well. And I think this is something we might see in the future because this is something Sony actively keeps working on. Alright, come here. Sit. Ollie, sit. Good boy. Go. Be free. Run. And off he goes. Of course, then we get to talk about transparency mode, and that is, well, okay, first of all, Sony doesn't do transparency, they do ambient sound, just like a lot of others, just like Soundcore and a whole bunch of others. But I think they need to get their transparency game right because the AirPods better. Now the Bose QC2 is also as good as the AirPods pretty much. They're really good. So while I like the sheer level of customizability you get with that ambient sound mode in Sony, I think that yes, it's great for people who want amplification. Maybe it's really good for people who are a little hard of hearing or something like that. And you can find a sweet spot where it's kind of natural, but it's not quite that transparent. I'd like another mode that just says absolute transparency and is as good as the AirPods Pro or the Bose QC2. I think that'll add a lot of value. Another thing about transparency mode that I think it could work on is something that hearing aids have been working on for a while, and that is basically having spatial audio in transparency. Okay, that just sounds wrong, but hear me out. When there's transparency mode, you're just hearing all the audio from one side, but it's not always apparent where the audio is coming from, right? It's all transparent, but you don't see that, okay, there's a person talking there and there. It's just all kind of coming in. This is something that definitely needs improvement because if you want to be aware of the surroundings, being aware also means being able to hear sounds as naturally as possible so you can see what's coming from where. Really, really important for awareness. But honestly, I'll just settle for just clear transparency mode, just like the AirPods Pro. That'll be a huge improvement. I don't know if you can hear it, but there's construction sounds already coming and it's early in the morning and this is Dubai. There's always something being built. Honestly, the national logo should just be a construction crane. That one over there. That one works well. Okay, it looks like he's found his friends. That gives us a little more time. So let's talk about sound quality. Honestly, I'm not sure I would change sound quality for anything. Sony's got this distinct signature and their EQ makes it so they don't really want you to mess with it. And for me, it just hits right. Okay, I'll admit there's a little less energy in the mids, in the vocals and whatnot, but the reason I wouldn't change anything is that EQ does actually help you to change that and make it more energetic sounding, make it more lively sounding, and after that, I wouldn't touch it. It sounds gorgeous. Now, I recently reviewed the WH-CH720 and their latest budget headphone offering, and they sounded almost identical, which leads me to believe that maybe they've settled on a sound signature, but who knows. Either ways, I love the sound and I wouldn't change a damn thing, but a little more customizability in the bass section would be good for a lot of people, or at least a preset that gives you a slightly different sort of cleaner tuning in the upper bass, lower mids. I think that'll suit a lot of people. Overall though, I wouldn't touch this for sound quality. This is by far and away the best Bluetooth earbuds I've heard for sound quality in terms of not only the tonal balance, although that is subjective. You could like something like the Galaxy Buds 2 Pro from Samsung that has a different tonal balance, but also for technicalities, the sheer soundstage, the imaging, the separation that this affords you is just, I haven't heard it on any other Bluetooth earbud. That's all I'm going to say. And that brings us to the big elephant in the room, microphone quality. Because normally I would turn the microphone on to make a point and to tell you about the microphone quality, but I refuse to because it absolutely lets everything in. It does not filter sound very well, which is odd. This is Sony. You'd think they'd be able to do that, right? In fact, I even took these to the FIFA World Cup, the Football World Cup, and tested them out in the stadium, and I'll leave a link to that video here. I tested them against 10 other earbuds, and they probably did one of the worst, if not the worst, apart from the final audio. And for our final contender, the Sony WF-1000XM5. Now, I gotta go watch the match. I'll see you guys later. Peace. So yeah, this is something they're going to have to do better. They absolutely have to. There's no questions about it. Mic quality is atrocious and they're going to have to improve on that. But what about battery life? Well, I actually think battery life is one of the best in the market. However, remember when I said they have to change their form factor to make them fit more years? If they do that, then you might have to use a smaller battery, and if they use a smaller battery, that might hit battery life. So we've got to see how they balance that out. Maybe they'll make it more efficient, maybe they'll manage to squeeze in a larger battery nonetheless. I don't know, but it's something to keep an eye on. But that actually brings me to another point. Now this is something I wish of all Bluetooth earbuds, not just Sony. I want it to be a replaceable battery. So Sony actually uses a cell battery that you can take out and put a new one, which is cool, but taking it out is a bit of a hassle. It's not something everybody's going to do. What I want to see is something that maybe, where the shell just is an easy to open thing, maybe something that screws out but has a little gasket for your IP rating, but still screws out and you can just replace the battery, because that would be game changing. No more would this be e-waste. As long as it runs on Bluetooth, you can keep using it for years. As long as you can switch out the battery, you can keep using it for years. That would be an absolute game changer, and that's something I wish somebody does, if not Sony. So that's pretty much it. I think they need to change their form factor just to fit more people. I think they shouldn't mess around with battery life because it's brilliant. I think from a customization point of view, a little more customization of touch controls would be nice, and volume control would be really nice as a gesture. But above all else, I think what they need to do is up their ANC game just to keep up with the top tier competition. They definitely need to change their transparency mode to be a little more transparent, but I don't know if that'll happen. Mic quality is non-negotiable. That's something they're going to have to change. Absolutely have to change. We'll just wait and see. According to some leaks, we may see the new XM5 as early as May 2023 or as late as August 2023. So it's right around the corner. I'm a big fan of the XM4. You can be damn sure I'll be ordering the XM5 and trying it out. Unless Sony decides to send me one. Guys, if you're listening. Alright, I gotta get back. I gotta make some coffee. Till next time, stay happy, stay peaceful, stay colorful. Namaste.